Remember I used to give you lessons too? Go on, let me hear you play something. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and...
Probably best to introduce Ariane, who is an operational risk guru and a marathon runner. Well, soon to be marathon runner. A trainer, and has also published her own operational risk book very recently, and that was beginning of the year, was it? March?
December.
Oh, December. So she's now an author. And fifth. Oh, sorry. She's recently released her new book, her fifth book, and apologies, man. So, and Ariane is going to speak about operational resilience. Correct me if I'm wrong. Built around the business outcomes, and then we're going to build through that as we go through the other speakers into more of a team, security-based discussion with Chris, and then we're going to speak about the individuals themselves with Joan as well. So I hope we're going to take you on a nice journey through the company kind of life cycle and to the individual at the end. So please welcome Ariane. Before we start, I always have, a little bit of fancy dress. I forgot to put it on tonight. So as it's operational resilience, how my fighter pilot tell me. So over to Ariane.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Apologies for my voice.
Oh, would you like a microphone?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Can everyone hear over there?
Yeah, can you hear me okay? Yes. All right. Well, thank you, Lee, for inviting us and inviting me again to speak on the Last Supper to talk about resilience. The irony occurred to me today. I was like, oh, okay. It wasn't even on purpose. Okay. So Ali and I go back a long time, and thank you for that. It's always a joy to be here. And I do what he says sometimes, and definitely tonight, because I've been instructed to talk about the paper released, consultative paper released last year recently by the Bank of England, PRA, and FCA together. And before I move on to this paper, a little bit of context, and I'm fortunate enough to speak regularly, let's say, with the Bank of England and also the PRA. And the Bank of England was saying, well, financial stability is important, but now our objective for 2019 and 2020 is to have the financial sector to be operational resilient. And for all of us working in operational risk and non-financial risk is a good testament of the importance that non-financial risk and operational aspects of firms take. And then discussing also with some members of the FCA, I'll get to one of the objective. Yay, he's here.
She was waiting. You're just over there. Thanks very much. Sorry.
Is the resilience around business outcome or business services. So the purpose of this paper and what the regulator have wanted to put in place is really present resilience about the protection of the outcome and the services to the customer. And for those of you who have read the document or read it in detail, it's very fresh in my mind, because if you wanted to know what I was doing last night, well, I was reading the paper. So there you go. For the second time, mind you. It's not that I discovered it. Anyway, and this paper read very much like an answer to those TSB disasters. But we pretty much know that it was a disaster. Because one of the examples they take, for instance, is, your priority needs to be around providing a business services to your customer, to your stakeholder, but essentially the business services. Not so much the priority shouldn't be upgrade of a system, but actually be able to handle your customer. So that's basically one of the context and the motivation. But going to the paper a bit more in a structured way. What is resilience? Well, resilience is about continuity and I'm going to take running parallel, of course, now that you all know that my minds are about the 28th of April, which is also my wedding anniversary, funny enough, but anyway. And it's about, so continuity is about pushing through, keeping going, okay? Keep the service afloat, not necessarily in the optimal state or in the normal state, but keep things going. So for that you can use alternative channels. For instance, continuity when your system is down, when your online trading system is down, some trading platform can trade via chats or telephone, etc. And then you have the recovery. And recovery, well, it's just like after exercise, is going back to a normal state. Okay, so you resume your online trading platform, to take that example, so the company goes back down to the normal operations. And after that, you have what could be called the reinforcement, and what Nassim Taleb calls anti-fragility, and it's what doesn't kill you, making stronger. And in the framework of risk management is around learning the lessons. So we learn the lessons for the discontinuity we have. That's what we put in place. How do we get better next time? And what was interesting is at the beginning of this paper, the regulator made very clear that these three elements are the aspect of resilience. We were talking just a few minutes ago, the difference between continuity that expands to resilience. I think if you want to describe resilience versus the old, but with all due respect, BCP, these aspects of continuity, recovery, and then reinforcement. So that's one aspect. What is the scope? The other aspect that I've mentioned is organized by business services, so not only to look at the outcomes you want to deliver to the customer, but also to move away from the technical discussions around what is the system, what is the process, even though the regulator expects you to look at the ramification and to look at the drivers of these services and resilience. But before you decide which services you're going to prioritize, you have to really, just like, I guess, risk appetite decision, but let's not go for this kind of one, but it's the preliminary to that is the prioritizations of your business services. What do I favor, what do I let go, and what are my different tolerances with that? Another element in the service and the treatment and the avoidance of harm, the FCA is very much around the avoidance of harm to customer, is how I'm going to handle that during a crisis or during a discontinuity in terms of communication. And you can sense reading this paper also the lessons learned from the TSB events, shall I say nicely, last year. So also in this context, what it highlights, and it was something that we all, I'm sure, observed in the industry compared to a few years ago, is the importance of incident management. And if you look at 10 or 15 years of history of risk management, we've moved away from prevention only. We can prevent everything. I think that ship has sailed because we can't prevent everything. I'm not going to mention any examples that we all have in mind, but never mind. And so you're more in damage control than incident management. Let's stick to resilience, shall we? And so what do we do? And so the other element, so basically I have three topics here, subtopics. What is resilience? We talked about that. Organizing and prioritization business services. And finally, how do you do about that? How do you manage resilience? Well, the first aspect, which is the sort of classical continuity aspect, is what is my tolerance limits, what are my RTOs, my recovery time objectives, and how do I manage continuity for that? You would expect that every mature firm has it, but maybe not everybody, so good to have. But another element that I find is quite interesting in this paper is the idea of tolerance limit. I'm going to say, well, tolerance limit, yeah, risk tolerance, we hear that for 15 years. No, the tolerance limit as described in the BOE paper is that's enough. It's the no-go. It's the absolute extreme that you don't want to go to. So it's beyond the RTO. It's the no way I'm going to get there. So it's the extreme disruptions that you will not tolerate. It's the very large disruptions that you wouldn't tolerate except in very extreme scenarios. And we are moving away finally, which is great, or at least in the regulator's eyes, from assessing the risks and agonizing around the likelihood and assessing the likelihood of the risk, but really look at the large impact. Thank you.